There it is. There was a letter sent to me requesting the Valley Firefighters wanted to have a barbecue in our park and get a beer garden. And Jesse Mitchell from the Valley Regional Fire Authority is here. If you'd like to speak on that, that would be great. It's like on the back of the, it's a letter, yeah.
Thank you, Madam President. So every year we have an annual barbecue that the off-duty firefighters and their family go to. We've always had it in Auburn for years and years from when we were with the Auburn Fire Department. And President Golden said, you know what, now that we're in Algona Pacific, let's see about doing it down here. So it's a fairly small event. It's just members and their family, off-duty members, obviously. And we wanted to request the ability to have a small beer garden for obviously people over 21, and I think in the email, I don't know if you have the email or not, but I just stated some of the things that might be asked. It'll be in a roped off area, be staffed, junior guy staffed the entire time. Only off-duty firefighters and their partners will be able to consume. Our local is providing insurance. I know there's been some issues with insurance in the park, so we will be insuring the event ourselves, and we will have a Washington State liquor license, and it will be purchased and on hand for the entire event should you approve it.
Questions from council? Sounds pretty similar to what we did a few years ago.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
They're responsible for everything. They just have to have our blessing to do it.
Enjoy the barbecue.
August 18th, the day after the car show, so we're hoping we end up tear up the park too much.
It's going to be a very busy park.
Scheduled fun for that?
That's right.
That's the whole weekend.
July 5th it starts, right?
That's right. Any other questions from council? What's council's pleasure?
Look forward.
All right.
Thank you much.
Jesse. Okay, the next item on the agenda is the Lodging Tax Tourism Committee recommendations. I handed you guys a packet, and there are two different things. So the Tourism Fund is designed to put heads in beds. That's the criteria that goes around using the tax dollars for doing that. It's for promoting activities, for operation costs, and what I did is I also attached the new law and definitions to what those things include, because some of the items that are on the list are not applicable. I can't even say that word. They do not apply. There you go. Thank you. Anyway, so there are several things that do. It can pay for the operations of the things, and I was really concerned about rejecting some of these without making sure I was absolutely right. And so I called a couple surrounding cities and asked their advice as well to make sure moving forward that we are dotting the I's, crossing all the T's. And there's a lot of reporting that goes along with this as well, anytime that you use that money. And it's also explained, the reporting process is written in the law that takes place as of July 1, and since the money will not be used until after July 1 in both instances. And the way that this is done is, the way our city works, is that we pay with POs, or, you know, once the bill comes in, basically, we don't give money out ahead of time. So even though this is a city-sponsored event, with it going to the park board, like some of these items, if they were to bill the city, you know, and it would come out of the tourism fund. But the prize store does not apply, raffles does not apply, entertainment is even, that's really, really borderline, and I was told you're taking a big risk because the auditor, this is a brand new law, and the auditor is going to be scrutinizing any tax dollars that get used for hotel, motel. So even that's iffy. But the sound system, because it's an operation cost, would apply. So that would be okay. Now, have on here event insurance, and I thought council moved that this was a city-sponsored event put on by the park board, and so I don't understand why there's insurance on this list.
I can tell you why. Linda sent you what the expenses were for 2010, I believe. It might have been 2011. And the city used to purchase event insurance, is what they told me.
It was covered under our existing insurance.
Right, but
They didn't have to buy
additional.
additional insurance.
I'm just telling you why it's on there. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was surprised to see it on there because the deductible was like $25,000, not where we're at now, so.
Right. So again, that's like, let's put it this way. We have to look at it as another nonprofit using this. We would not pay for their insurance. So it's like, it's the same thing applies in this situation. And that's what I was instructed. Look at it this way. If whatever you would offer a nonprofit, it would be the same rules, even though it's a city-sponsored event. So the insurance would not apply. Porta potties do. Parade supplies, it doesn't say what those are. You know, are we talking signage? You know, and so that really doesn't apply. Signs would apply. Carback tools doesn't apply. Ribbons and prizes doesn't apply. So these items that I was, it's up to council if we want to have a discussion on it, like the entertainment, and it doesn't list it out exactly what the entertainment is. And again, it's like, just like Terry Home, they have to apply for these monies and say exactly what it's used for, what that price is. And when it's all said and done, they will turn in their invoices and get reimbursed out of the tourism funds. And it's exactly the same way with Pacific Days. And I had a lot of schooling on this area because when I was running Pacific Partnerships, I wanted all that money. How come we can't use that money for this and this and this, you know? And I would argue, and I got a lot of schooling. No, you have to remember, it puts heads in bed. That's what that money is for. It's supposed to be advertising 50 miles out and bringing people into the city. And so that's why we really have to be careful on what we use the money for and what it gets scrutinized for, because, again, like I said, this is a new law. Anybody that uses this money beyond July 1, 2013, the auditor is going to look very carefully at it. And so, and that's what I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. And if you want to, you know, read over the law and see if you interpret it a little bit differently. And like I said, I contacted 2 surrounding cities just to make sure that I wasn't off base. I wanted to be absolutely sure. No comments, I'm sorry.
Not a comment. No, it's not a comment. I was going to say I don't see anybody here from Pacific Partnerships, maybe other than Gary or some other members, and having attended the meeting, I don't think they turned in the budget to ask for all the money. It was for all of the items on the budget. It was my understanding at the meeting that Cheryl needed the budget, but they didn't necessarily know that there's a lack of institutional memory. What you learned 2 or 3 years ago didn't transfer through Carol and then Frank, so it's more of what kind of things would the hotel motel tax cover that could legitimately be asked for, because that would take a little bit of pressure off of the funds that the group has.
So that's what I'm trying to explain.
Well, I mean, but that wasn't coming across. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, okay. But I just wanted to, I didn't want to just go down and say, nope, 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 nope. I was trying to explain that the reasoning and the justification why these things would be taken off the list of being funded. Also, there was another notation about possibly $300 for advertising. Advertising works as part of marketing, and all that can be approved. And so the process would be just the same as it will be, you know, with Terry Home, how it's broken down. It's all advertising, it's marketing, and actually with Terry Home too, reading this new law and exactly how it works, porta potties will be added to their list. But these are items that what will happen is being moved forward at the council meeting is going to be like an up to amount, and with the understanding it has to meet this criteria, this reporting needs to be done, and sure, I'll be happy to work with you on that staff report. I'm making that, you know, all available so everybody understands exactly what we're approving. comes out of tourism, and this is what is acceptable and what's not acceptable, so that we're totally above board and doing everything by the book. Does that make sense?
Perfect, yep. That's what I need.
And then, same thing with the Terry home I gave you, that broke down as well, and, like I said, I'll add porta potties onto this list. And so probably what we'll do is do like an up to, because these aren't exact figures, these
Right.
are estimates. And so, you know, if we move all these and say like up to 2,500 for this category and up to 2,500 for this one, and then as it comes in, as long as it meets the criteria, those bills will get paid. The finance committee's gonna see those checks when they come in and say, oh, wait a minute, that doesn't come out of tourism. Right? Questions from council? Councilman Walker?
And I'm okay with this, but my question is, should we create something that we can hand out that's a little more clear than the RCW for people coming and asking for this?
You know, and that's a great idea, because I was confused reading that. I'm not an attorney, and reading the RCW the way it's stated, like I said, I reached out to other cities asking advice, just to make sure that we were doing it right.
I was gonna suggest, it might be worth checking whether MRSC has gotten enough questions on it, that they would have their own checklist rather than reinventing the wheel.
That's a good idea, too. And the law just takes effect starting July 1, so
Yeah.
everything is after.
Yeah, so we get to pay their attorneys out of our dues rather than out of attorney's fees.
Did you have a comment, Cheryl? Cheryl?
She was just saying.
I'm sorry.
Did you have a comment? I didn't hear.
I'm sorry, I was asked a question. What? Oh, the MRSC. I'm sure they do, because, it was Kat at MRSC who I was in contact with, who said the law had changed, and that they were following it closely, and so they probably have more updated information.
Perfect. Cool. And so I think is council on board with that we just do up to amount as long as it meets the criteria, and then
Right.
I think that works for everybody. And I'm all about helping with city events, trust me.
And Betty, do we know off the top of your head how much is in tourism, I mean, even to the closest $10,000?
Off the top of my head, no.
You don't have a little memorized? Very
There was like $60,000 in there last time we looked, and there's been many added.
Okay.
It's like 80 now, I think, or something. Not that we can use that much.
Right.
We get that.
Well, we get the best certificate ever.
That's right.
So, and the new law says it's nonprofit too. So it's like Pacific Partnership has to apply for that many, or to submit for those funds.
Oh, they do?
It has to be a nonprofit.
Oh.
Is there a deadline for filing?
Well, no, when you turn it in, it would only be when you want reimbursement, it has to be submitted. So you're not gonna get money ahead of time, only when it gets submitted. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll put that.
It's really confusing, and it's like, make sure we do it right.
Yeah, we'll have to see the packet.
So, okay. I have an excellent up here for you. Okay. Okay. Any other questions from council?
Sorry.
What's council's pleasure?
Move forward.
Excellent. Okay, next item on the agenda, second place sewer issue. Mr. Ken.
This probably doesn't need any council. This is more of a discussion. I know the second place sewer has been a discussion for a couple weeks. And I just received a letter from Mr. Mott. On the 3rd, we cameraed again and put dye down the lines, and we cameraed from 3 different directions. If you look at the last page, there is a as-built, and that's pretty accurate as to the way it's built. Kind of unique, but it's pretty accurate. There is a clean out towards the back that we were never able to find. There's a concrete patch in the private street that looks like somebody covered over with concrete. We didn't dig that up. But we did find a clean out close to the right-of-way, within about 4 feet of the right-of-way. From that point forward, it's 6 inch. That clean out was 6 inch. We cambered at that point after we thought we'd seen a break in damaged pipe and found a small calcium deposit. It wasn't restricting the flow in any way, but since we were there, we had the Vector truck there, we jetted it, ran the
cut her through there and clean that calcium deposit out. I have spoke with both the owners of 204 Second Southwest, which is Dawn, can't think of her last name, and the owners of 210, and neither one of them have ever been backed up, according to what they've told me. And the problem we still see is in Mr. Mott's, in the private side sewer, it has two major dips in the sewer, and that's what's slowing him down and backing up. So that's the issue that we can find. We had thought before we found this last clean out, because it was buried underneath some bushes and underground, that there was like I said, a break, or that the pipe had melted or something like that. It had a weird look to it, but looking in a sewer with a camera is not always the most precise.
So I have a question. In the statement saying from the fire in 2009, how deep is that pipe in the ground?
The pipe at the point where it would have been affected is approximately 10 feet in the ground. Why we thought it might be from the fire is because we thought they had the pole sitting directly on top of it, and the pole is what actually caught fire, and it was damaged from fireworks and transformer blowing. So the ground wire actually could have caused damage to the pipe, if that was the case, but it was not the case.
Okay, so they exposed that and it wasn't
Yep.
melted?
No, correct.
Thank you. Councilman Hope?
Mr. Mott sent me a picture today. Did the city workers leave an exposed underground, electrical line? Is there a conduit?
It's not electrical, there is an exposed line. It was there before it was exposed before. It's cable TV and telephone.
It's on the ground?
It's right on top of it's on the surface.
Yeah, he's concerned that it might be a trip hazard.
It was under a hedge before, I think, is why it probably wasn't exposed. But yeah, it was above ground before, so we didn't put it back underground. We didn't put it underground. I can have the crew do that without any problem. I could have the crew put it under, at least surface, yeah. There's not enough wire there to go very deep, but we can get it at least